This parable of the talents is one that needs to be explained generally. We tend to think of the talents as abilities, things that we can do or can't do. But probably by now you know that talents do not, in this case, refer to what we can and can't do. It's a unit of measure. And usually this unit of measure has to do with money. And so this is a gospel that talks about taking money that has been entrusted to you and turning it into something even greater. It's a gospel that is often used when it's time to preach about money. I'll be darned. But now this is a tough homily for me to give. I'm not very good at this sort of thing, this preaching about money. But today we begin our Catholic Parishes Campaign, and I gotta be honest, I've not fully appreciated what this campaign was all about, at least until I became a seminarian. Don't forget, I'm a late vocation. I was 45 years old when I entered seminary. That's a daunting enough task on its own, to go back to school after having been out of college for more than 20 years. What most people don't appreciate is that it costs somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 a year to educate a seminarian at St. Meinrad. $30,000 a year. Imagine deciding to enter seminary, whether young or old. Imagine deciding to enter seminary to discern whether or not I'm called to be a priest. Imagine doing that 20 years after being out of college. But now, imagine having to be responsible for $30,000 in order to do that. But what if it takes 2 years for me to discern if I'm called, which is not out of the realm of possibility at all? That's a $60,000 gamble that I promise you I couldn't have handled if I was responsible for the costs. Fortunately, I was free of that responsibility as I entered seminary and as I went through because of the Catholic Parishes Campaign. You see, one of the reasons a man enters seminary is to discern, to pray and study and determine whether or not he is called. That's the whole idea of entering seminary. Not to determine that you are called before you go, but to go and determine if you are called. We have to take the time to see if God is calling us. If not, we want that man to leave formation. The last thing we need is to have guys going into the priesthood who are not called. If a guy is doing that discernment, he cannot be free to truly do his work if he must rack up 5 or 6 figure student loan debts to do so. But seminarian education is only one of the many endeavors and entities that benefit from the campaign. There are more than I care or can mention at this time in a 5-minute homily. Yes, you heard that correctly. But a few, in addition to priestly vocations, a few are Catholic education, youth and young adult ministry, and significantly for us, Catholic charities. Significant for us because Denise Seibert Townsend, a daughter of this parish and daughter of Dennis and Nancy Herrenbrook, she is the executive director of Catholic Charities here in Evansville. I'm preaching a short homily now. Let's call it Part A. But I'm going to reserve a little time at the end of Mass to show a video that highlights just one of the many Catholic charity services that are funded by the Catholic Parishes Campaign. We will call that Part B. The CPC, the Catholic Parishes Campaign, assesses each parish based on the number of families in the parish, and they use a formula for that. The resurrection assessment this year is in excess of $185,000. This is the hard part of the campaign and of the homily. Please prayerfully consider whether you are able to contribute your family's share to this year's campaign. Because whatever we do not collect, and we must pay the $185 plus, whatever we do not collect will come out of our general operating fund, which would take away funds from other entities, other programs, other ministries in our parish that need it badly. And for Part A, thank you for your patience with a money homily. And thank you in advance for whatever contributions you may be able to make to this year's CPC.